our first client, it was like 500 euros. We were happy. It was our first money. I want to reach the CEO of Coca-Cola. Big struggle was that I started a business in Denmark, so don't do that. You knew everybody, all the content creators around the world, because there were not so many. This is the thing that's gonna come to Lithuania as well at some point and to the rest of the Europe. For those who want to start their own business, I always say something that I said to myself in the very beginning: you can always find a job.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Come PR Podcasts. My name is Maria, and today we have Kotryna Kurt with us. Kotryna is the founder and the CEO of Linkedist, and she is also a startup mentor. And today we will talk with her about business growth and, of course, employer branding. Kotryna, thank you so much to come today. We're so pleased to have you with us. We can start with questions about employer branding because that's your expertise and that's what your business is about. I'd like to ask you why companies, not employees, mostly are actively communicating right now on social media, and do you feel it as a trend nowadays?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here today. It's nice to be on your podcast. Starting with employer branding, it's important to understand that these days we can get much further with people communicating rather than only businesses communicating. And that is because a lot of us, we're looking up to other people and we're seeing what they're doing, we're trusting them more. And these days, employer branding is so big because it generates more trust in an organization. So, for example, if I see two companies that are potentially one of my service providers, and if I have to choose one or the other, and if I see that another company has people who are communicating actively on LinkedIn or anywhere else, I immediately trust that organization much more because, I see the people who are behind the brand. And that is so important these days. As you know, we have social media and we 85% of the time meet people virtually first and meet organizations virtually. So that is why it is important to not only have a strong company brand, but also have a strong brand of the people who work at your organization.
Especially working worldwide when the first
Exactly.
connection is online.
Yeah, and especially if you want to have clients from the US or Asia or any other markets, even in Europe, if you are in Lithuania and let's say you want to have clients from Germany, you still need to be active online and to make sure that you create that kind of trust that is not really created when you don't meet people.
That's so true. And also, I'd like to ask you about LinkedIn ads. People discuss a lot, should they invest in LinkedIn ads or not, because that's more expensive than Facebook or Instagram. How can you tell why they should choose LinkedIn in which situations?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, what is really different with advertising, what is not on other platforms, that is, that people and businesses can actually target really specific decision makers. So on Facebook and on Instagram, what you do is that you do a lot of targeting, but at the end of the day, you're not really sure if you're targeting somebody who has a fake name and fake surname, or if that's a real person, or if that's a bot, or if that's somebody, right, that you really want to reach. Whereas on LinkedIn, you specifically can go ahead and say, I want to reach the CEO of Coca-Cola, right? Or I want to target only C-level management from IKEA. And then you exactly know, yes, you're spending more money on LinkedIn as a platform, but you exactly know who and which kind of decision makers you're targeting. So I think this is the benefit of LinkedIn advertising, comparing it to like Instagram or Facebook.
That's a really big benefit because you can be more sure of where your money goes for targeted ads.
Yeah, and you can reach like potential clients. If you have a list of companies, let's say you want to work with, and you tell to yourself, okay, I want to work with these companies, then you can directly target the decision makers from those companies.
And In the world where social media is rapidly changing, how do you see a future of LinkedIn? What, maybe there will be more influencers or more video content? That's a little bit even strange that in LinkedIn there's no Reels, Shorts, TikTok formats, because in our media, social media, there is.
So we're definitely seeing more and more influencers, but not necessarily they're posting video content as much as they're posting like images. What happened actually, LinkedIn was one of the latest social media to have video format. When Instagram and Facebook already had video, LinkedIn did not. So what happened was when they introduced LinkedIn videos and that you could finally upload a video, LinkedIn became like a second YouTube. Everybody started uploading videos, and videos,
Courses also.
yeah, videos was really a booming type of format because every time LinkedIn introduces a new function, it gets a lot of engagement. So let's say there's a new video function. If you upload a video, you get a lot of views because LinkedIn wants to boost a new function. So, as I said, a lot of people began posting videos, and in general, like it was full of videos. So then LinkedIn decided to cut down on the engagement of the video. And now what we have is that, videos don't really get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn unless you do them often and repeatedly and have like maybe shorter format, but or something engaging is happening in there. But other than that, like I don't see too many people going with the video format just because video view is 3 seconds, whereas other simple view of an image, it can be somebody who just scroll by your image. So often people, when they post a video, they feel like, oh, wow, I'm not getting a lot of engagement. And I've done this video and I put a lot of work into it, right? But it's not that you don't get a lot of engagement. Actually, people need to view your video for at least 3 seconds to get a view. So this is what's happening with the video on LinkedIn. And then for the future, definitely, I see like new formats and influencers more and more like becoming natural. But it's never going to be the same because on LinkedIn, influencing is a different type of a beast, as I say, because,
True.
it's like you have to talk about something without really talking about it. And people on LinkedIn don't necessarily like to be sold to, so yeah,
True.
let's see where it goes.
Did you personally have some proposals for becoming an influencer for some firms, maybe, or some events?
Yeah, I've done a lot of times already, like some promotional posts and for promoting an event or a conference or some kind of a product. So I have done that quite a few times and, it works. And I have a friend who is like the biggest influencer in finance in the world. If not Europe, then the world. But he, for example, could take around from 5,000 to 10,000 euros per post for integration. Because one of his posts could reach, for example, 1 million people.
And
so
necessary people.
Yeah, exactly, finance people. So it's there, it's working. Like companies that know about it, they're using these people's profiles. But usually these people who are influencers, they're either business owners or independent or freelancers. Because if you're working at let's say a company here somewhere in Lithuania or anywhere else, you can't just simply, while working at a specific company, suddenly advertise another company,
True.
So you have to be either like a business owner or freelancer.
That's very interesting. Sometimes I'm wondering why LinkedIn is still free, because it's a very niche and closed community, I would say. And the trust of people is much higher. It's not only a platform for uploading your content, but you're creating your personal brand or employer brand in such a subtle way that is connected firstly with communication with our peoples, with with connection.
Yeah.
I'd also like to ask you more about your personal growth as an entrepreneur and about your path there. So, first questions would be, how did you feel the trend with LinkedIn that in Lithuania it will become, there will be such a big boom? And I would say that you also took a part in promoting it in Lithuania. But back in the days, nobody even knew what the social is.
Yeah, so I was living in Denmark for 8 years, and when I was living in Denmark, I could see that LinkedIn is slowly coming to Scandinavia, and I was working with an IT company, and I helped them with their marketing, and they were actually opening new offices in the US. So I traveled to the US, and I could see like how much people are using LinkedIn there, and slowly it was coming to Scandinavia. So I started working with it myself at the company, but also creating my own content there, because back then there were like just, I don't know, 20 people around the world that you could count on your fingers. And, you knew everybody, all the content creators around the world, because there were not so many. So I started making content, and then people started asking me like, "Oh, can you help me? Can you do a workshop?" So slowly, during my weekends, during evenings, I started consulting people and like helping them with LinkedIn. And then I met my co-founder, who was also a Lithuanian girl, and she came back from San Francisco to Lithuania, and she used to work there also with LinkedIn and startups. So we both met and we said, okay, I think like this is the thing that's gonna come to Lithuania as well at some point, and to the rest of the Europe. And we decided to give it a go. So I quit my job, and she quit her job, and we just forecasted that in like the next 2-3 years it will be popular here, and that's basically what happened.
That's amazing.
So we done the first LinkedIn workshop here in Lithuania, and then of course other agencies started doing those as well. But we were the ones who paved the way.
Yeah. And that was at quite a young age, at 23 or 24 you started?
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
Wow. And well, you probably prepared for a long time, so before you opened your business officially. So
yeah, so we prepared for half a year. I saved up money for at least half a year or something like that. If everything goes down and we don't earn anything, I was able to still support myself. And yeah, like the first month, our first client invoice, I think it was like 500 euros. So we earned like 250 each, and we were happy. It was our first money.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And can you tell about first customers? How did you work with them? How did you reach them, and how did they trust something new?
Yeah. So actually, because I was already having a small brand on LinkedIn, because I was doing it for at least before opening the company for at least 1.5 years. So when we announced that we opened Linkedist, actually the first 2 clients came from LinkedIn. So
Great.
people saw our post, and one guy, he was just one man company, and he said, okay, I need you to do this, do it for me. It was a company called Cloudvisor. Right now there are more than 60 people, and they definitely don't need our help because they have everything in house. But they grew nicely with us from the beginning. And then another company that we're actually working with till this day is actually a very unique company working with outsourcing people to projects in Scandinavia. So yeah, it was just very natural from our posts, from what we talked about, and people just wanted to, support us.
At which stages of we'll turn a little bit to employer branding again, but I cannot ignore this question because that's interesting. At which stages of business growth should people turn to actively investing in content creation on LinkedIn and other plans LinkedIn suggests?
So I would say that every startup or bigger company, mid-sized company should invest in LinkedIn. It depends on how much resources and time you have. If you're a startup, you don't have a lot of money, and let's say you're just in the beginning of your journey, it's important to have at least like 1-2 posts per month so it doesn't look like you're a dead company. But it's much more important to actually create content for the people's profiles and like try to get other people's attention. If you're a company that has enough budget for this and money, then of course, like at any point, the sooner you start, the better it is. And also, if you have a team already, at least 10 people, and you want to make sure that they are also the brand ambassadors on LinkedIn and they are talking about your business or talking about what they're doing, then it's a good time to start investing into it as well. So, really, it's not as much about the size of the company, but how much resources and time do you have?
Mm-hmm. I see. And talking about the team, you mentioned that yours is quite lean. So, how did you come to? How many people do you have actually? If you can share with the audience, and how was the process for you with creating a team? What was the struggles and the wins?
Yeah, so we're a 10 people team. And for the first 1.5 years, we were just two of us, the two co founders. And, we wanted just to understand the business, like, first of all, understand the processes, like how to charge for the service and so forth. So it took us a while. But then later on, we started getting another person and another. And it's a never-ending challenge because you always have to hire new people, and somebody comes, somebody goes. So it's like it's never, that you get to 10 people and now I'm done. That's it. Like everything is good. But I think the biggest challenge is still like always trying to find the cultural fit for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have done a pretty good job since the beginning to hire the right people. I don't know how magically it happened, but we did. And they played a big part in forming the culture as it is today. So, for example, sometimes now when we are, 8 or 9 people and somebody comes in and we immediately can feel after just first month if that person is not gonna fit or if they will fit.
Mm-hmm.
Because the values of the whole team are, kind, supportive, friendly, helping, even if we're a remote team, we have a small office here in Vilnius. People can come around, but, most of the time we work remote. So we need to be able to communicate well, don't have misunderstandings, feel like we're close to each other. And we invest a lot in that, like through Slack and through meme channel and other things that we have in our company. So, but yeah, I think keeping like the good culture and the right values, you can go like very far. If you just allow 1 or 2 people come in and they are like mixing up the culture or the good dynamics that you have, you have to immediately eliminate them as fast as you can. So that's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm. I see.
That's a tough one, but it's
Yeah.
what basically will keep your company afloat. Yeah.
At some point, you have to choose company or trying to be a good, a kind employer.
But I mean, you're taking care of your colleagues as well. If there's a person who's like coming in and destroying the whole culture, then you have to do something about it.
True.
Yeah.
And besides that, could you please share some biggest struggles you had in your business so far? If you would like to share some of them. And the reason why I'm asking is I'm interested, how did you overcome it and which lessons did this bring to you?
There were a lot of lessons during the years. I think like a big struggle was that, first of all, I started a business in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do that. Because starting a business in Scandinavia is like
officially.
Yeah, it's expensive. That's one thing I can say. Like it costs a lot of money. I mean, 50% of it you're giving to tax. So it was difficult to move a company like officially from close everything in Denmark, open everything in Lithuania. Like that was a big change. And then tax system in Denmark was like another thing where I woke up and my accountant once called me and said, "Oh, you paid this one?" I said, "Yes, I did." "And you paid this tax?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And then she said, "Oh, did you pay this tax?" And I was like, "What is that?" And then she's like, "I'm going to calculate." I was like waiting, nervously on the phone. She's like, "It will be 10,000 euros." So
just from the start.
just, like, of course, it took me 2 days. I lied in bed, I was like, okay, I let this out and then I need a plan. So I, of course, had to pay that money and everything. Gladly, I, of course, had some money away. So if something like that happened, but it's tough, So I think it's tough for anybody to start a business. And in any country you are, to figure out the system and the bureaucracy and the tax system and everything. So I think that's a challenge for most business, no matter which size you are, big or small. And then I think like another challenge is just good people, like I already mentioned, like finding good people. Everything else can be solved, clients, sales, pricing, like business model, you can solve on your own. But to find good people is difficult. So yeah, these two I think like would be my main challenges.
Thank you for sharing. And what's the next big step for Linkedist and for you personally?
So for Linkedist, we're definitely planning to grow more. And we're planning to expand into different markets. So, for example, right now we are working with some clients from Switzerland, and we are planning to do an event in Switzerland next year in Zurich physically. So we're trying to enter Swiss market because it's a very still like a small, but a market that needs services like that. So that's, I think, what's next for us. And we're planning AI hackathon next year.
Oh,
And we are planning another Linkedist event, which is called Digital Brilliance in the summer. So this is what we're doing. And then for myself, I'm just actually finishing lecturing at ISM University. It's exciting to work on the development of Linkedist. I have a couple of other few ventures that I'm working on. So maybe in the future I can share about that. And more working with Lithuanian Sales Association because I'm a chairman there. So we recently established it, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So
that's great. So I wish you the biggest success, and also maybe you could share some recipe of for success for people who are inspired by you, for example, for creating the business, for developing the business, or also for creating a culture and trust within the company. Because I think only if we have this, people will go actively and communicate on LinkedIn as well. So, what's the recipe for success, and what do you personally believe in?
yeah, so there's probably not one successful way. There's lots, but I think like there are two thoughts that I can leave you with. So for those who want to start their own business or their own venture, I always say something that I said to myself in the very beginning, and that was, you can always find a job. You can always find a job. I mean, if you try something out and it doesn't work out, you can always go back, and there's, lots of job opportunities, and you can find a job where you will be fulfilled. But at least you have tried. So this is what at least I tried to live by when I was starting this. And then for the trust part, I think like it's really important to remember that when people, and that's something I learned in Scandinavia that was not really here in Lithuania, and I think in some of the other neighboring countries is not a thing, but in Scandinavia, people in companies, when you start at a different organization, they trust you first. And then if something goes down, they lose their trust in you. but they give you, trust from the beginning. Whereas in Lithuania or some other neighboring countries, you have to come into a business, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove that people can trust you. And then after a while, people start trusting you, right? Then you're a good person. So that's exactly what I'm not trying to do. I'm trying to give full trust to every person that I hire so they feel comfortable. And I think that's what a lot of organizations should do. And if at some point you do like something huge, a huge mistake or a huge fail, we can always, of course, talk about it because, everybody makes mistakes. But you can only yourself like make that trust disappear, right? So I think this is what a lot of businesses could learn.
Yeah, that's such a great tip for business and for life as well. And Kotryna, thank you so much for coming today again and for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you everyone for watching. Please hit a like button to support us. And if you'd like to see more episodes of Kama PR podcasts, please hit subscribe button and you will be notified when new videos with interesting guests from the world of business will come out. Thank you so much and goodbye.